Cut it down. One, two, three. Are live.
This is still Techpression live on Techpression TV. We apologize for the break in transmission earlier. And yes, I still have Madam Tenemba Samake. She's the executive director of MBC Africa with over 2 decades working in business development and SME funding across Africa. Thank you very much, ma'am, for still being here with us. I mean, despite all this technological hitches that we face in Africa.
It's part of my life. No problem.
Okay, so we were discussing how business owners, African startups, can begin to expand their markets by looking at the remote areas because they need those numbers for the investors. So, can we go back to that conversation?
Yeah.
Just pick up from there.
Yeah. So we were saying that VC strives on numbers, volumes,
Yes.
scalability. When they talk about
Mm-hmm.
scalability, it's about the numbers. The bigger the numbers, the better. So if you're a young person in fintech, for example, you are you have to look into the rural areas because this is where most of us are. It's rural
Mm-hmm.
and peri-urban areas. And this is where people have less access to the normal financial services. Okay? So this is where you should be really innovating and making sure that your services can be bought by this population. Then your scalability is very clear. You can demonstrate it. So we have the mobile money now, that is an example.
Mm-hmm.
But mobile money is limited because it's really small amounts of monies. And if you want to, build a business, you need more than that. So we need to do more financial innovation and with the tech people, then bring it on the digital format. So if you are for also in ag tech, it's the same thing. People who are going to use your product or services are in rural and peri-urban areas. So that means you have to they can afford, they can pay for. Then you have scalability. So young people have to understand that you have to concentrate on where the market is, not what you think is nice, sexy, great. No, everything must go from the market. And that is one of the biggest challenges we have with the founders. Most of them make their products and services based on assumptions, not market assumptions. This product worked in this space, it should work in my space, which is not true. So we bring them back to the basics. You go from the market, market assumptions, market needs, and you build products and services. If they do that, then there is no problem. Those who raise money just did that exactly. There is a market. They demonstrated the existence of the market and the scalability. Because now today you can scale in the country, but you can scale in the region. You can scale all Africa, even international, depending on what you're providing as service or product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important that we build those ecosystems we were talking about in the beginning, because this is where you can really, really do the proper research, build the minimum viable products or services, test the market to
Mm-hmm.
see if it really works before you start a company. So it's important that the VCs, the venture capital funds, also work with people like us because they are looking for pipeline deals that are ready to be invested in, but they don't want to invest in preparing that pipeline. We are the pipeline builders. Building pipeline has a cost. Who's paying for it? Right now, it's people like us with probably a few DFIs that really invest in proper pipeline building. So this is something we have to sit down with them and really agree on how we build our ecosystem around um, those areas because we build pipeline and we provide technical assistance even after investment. So you have to work with
Okay.
somebody, if you're a fund, you have to work with somebody like NBC to make it happen. So we prepare the pipeline and we help and support operations after your investment which means that your choice in investment quality is better, but also the output of the fund is better because you probably will have more exits than you have now. So these are conversations we should be having with the venture capital funds.
That's pretty interesting. Now, okay, so there's a whole lot to think about in
To
just
talk
this
about.
conversation that you have. Yes, there's just a whole lot. And now this whole lot is not it's not just for the founders right now or the business owners, also for the venture
Hmm.
capitalists and even other investors, the PEs and all. So it's
Yes.
just getting me thinking. Now let's just look at the business owners. What you've said is they need to do deep work, market research before they even decide to feel like, oh, that they have a company, pretty much, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, can you give like maybe a 3 or 4 step guide for them? For example, like because you've given like a broad view, can you give a 3 or 4 step guide for someone who's watching right now, who's just starting out their business and feel, because a lot of people talk from passion because they've heard that they say have make sure you have an emotional connection to the investor, and then you say a
Ooh.
crybaby story, and then they and then say it's a core, I lost my mother and it's a core of my heart. So I mean there's more to it than that. And but some of them don't understand it
Yeah.
because we see a lot of this on the shark shows and stuff like that, and sometimes it seems like it goes well
Ah,
because
yeah, yeah.
that's the aspect that they show you. They don't show you sometimes
That's
the
just the
other deep
pitch. Yeah.
questions. Yes,
Hmm.
that's just the pitch. They don't show the deep work that goes into it, the other questions that they're asking sometimes. So what is like a 4 step guide that a business owner, an African startup founder can begin to work with, so they can go back to the drawing board and think again and know, oh, okay, so I haven't done this, or have I done this, and what is left for me to do to improve on?
So I basics. The is there really a problem I'm solving? Because whatever product or services you're going to build has to solve a problem for somebody who's ready to pay for it. That's your market. Are you really solving a problem? Because most of the times, 60% of the time, I don't see the problem they're solving, and they're not even able to articulate properly the problem or the pain they are solving for the market. That's step number one. Make sure you have a market, meaning you are solving a problem for somebody. That's one. Number two, is your solutioning really the pain or the problem for your markets?
Mm.
That's step number two. So these are basics. If you listen,
Wow.
you'll get somewhere. Number three, make a model, if possible, and test your market in reality. Even if it's in a small version, we have something that we call the Lean Start methodology. They can go and Google that. It enables you to test in a very lean way the market you're looking at. Okay, so you build a minimum viable product, and after identifying the market, as I said before, the market segment you want to attack, you go and test that product or services directly with people you're targeting, so they will give you feedback. Is this product or service really solving our problem that you identified? If yes, are you ready to buy it? Yes. At how much? At this much. Where do you think we should be distributing it for you to be able to access to it, etc., etc. So you will collect real data from the market that you will integrate when you come back. Then and only then that you will start talking about creating a company, that you will start looking at being a startup, setting up a company, going for funding, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
4 steps.
Okay.
If you can do that,
4 steps.
yeah.
All right. So
It's
first
not
off,
easy.
they need to so that they need to do like market research, understand what the problem is in
Articulate,
society.
yes,
Yes, articulate it clearly.
articulate the problem. So to
Mm-hmm.
identify your market,
Mm-hmm.
go do build a minimum viable product to test your market clearly. That will confirm, validate that you're solving the pain that you have identified. And then, if you have collected all the information, you build your final, between brackets, product and services that you will use to start the company.
Hmm, that's nice. And I
Four
hope you
steps.
heard that clearly out there. And please, as an African startup founder, or if you know, because a lot of people are call themselves startup founders these days. So it's very likely that someone watching this has a brother or a sister or cousin that falls into that category. So please, this information, share this the link to this conversation to them so that they can learn from this, because that is why the Tech Passion Live is ongoing. Thank you so much, Ma. And now we've given these 4 steps. Can you also give 4 steps for investors so that they can understand how?
Ah,
Because I know there are a whole lot more. Because there are a whole lot. It seems like more founders. I believe more founders probably will connect with the conversation. But like we were speaking off
yeah,
camera earlier, um, there
yeah.
even investors need to build on the knowledge they have. They need to understand some things, like you said, like they need to connect with those in the pipeline stage so that they can have the right match, and also the value or the result from the funding that they're giving out as they expected is realized. So something that can work for them, because you made me understand that it's not just a startup issue. Even the founders or
Yeah.
the funders and investors also have a
Mhm.
key role to play to ensure that it works for us in Africa, not copying what is in other continents.
Yeah. So the thing is that we've been training founders at NBC Africa. We have accelerated practically 1,000 businesses now since we started in 2013. And out of the 1,000, maybe 50 or 60 only were able to raise some money. And with a lot of difficulties, between 6 months and 18 months, we've assessed that. Then we had started to look into the investors themselves. We are training the funders. I think it's time we train the investors also, and the VC fund managers, because a lot of them come with bias. Uh, First bias is you're an African founder. They don't realize it, but I've been on both sides. Eh? I've been on the investment side, and now I'm supporting the um, the founders. And I've invested personally as an angel investor in founders. I know the limits, I know the challenges and everything, but I think that a lot of the investors don't have that experience that I had, and it limits them because they have a lot of bias to go through. First, the first bias, you're an African founder, you're in this country, you're a woman, you're youth, you're ooh la la. It's like they have this thing in front of them. So for you to go around those biases, you really have to be top notch. Or you have to come across someone that understands investing in founders and SMEs in African environment, because it's really specific. It's a skill set, and it's something that you have to do like anything else. Because I started as an angel investor, and I told someone the day I will start a fund, I know how I will do it, and I know what I will do, what I will not do. Why haven't I started a fund up until now? Because I still think I don't know how to fund the SMEs. Because the day I will start a fund myself, I know how to start what type of fund. I will never start a VC fund, venture capital fund, LPGP model, never. That's something that I've decided long time ago. So when I started looking at financing, now I've started a credit union model that can finance startups and early stage businesses, because this is something they understand in terms of financial instruments, and it helps build their confidence, build their businesses up to a level where they can go and talk with the VC people, because they have built their businesses, they know the businesses well, They have all the numbers. They can really start a conversation with the VC. And this is what we lack right now. And how do we train the VC? The investors in Ghana, we are a network called Investing Impact Investing Ghana. We are spending a lot of time training, especially local investors, people like pension funds, insurance companies that have a lot of money that should be investing in the economy. But because they don't understand equity investing and the risks involved, they have difficulties to go there. So we're spending a lot of time effectively training investors because we understood one of the things that we must do is make sure that we are able to raise funding locally in our countries. Because up until now, everybody's talking to the same people outside, the DFIs,
Mm-hmm.
the international investors. We have money in our countries. How do we access to them? Is to train those who have that money to invest in the real economy. And that's what we're doing with IIGH. And I think we have our colleagues also in Nigeria, the Impact Foundation, that are doing exactly the same thing because we understood that it's not just a founder's problem. It's founders, investors, and even venture capital models that we're implementing that are not adapted to our industry in Africa as we speak. How many businesses do you think can receive private equity funding in Africa? I'm not even talking about VC yet. Venture capital is specific. Private equity is even bigger. How many businesses can receive venture? Because for somebody like in the United States, they consider 100 million US dollars as impact funding. Yes, JP Morgan does impact funding. It considers $100 million in a company in Nigeria as impact funding, like small. So it's really time we be less lazy and do a lot of research ourselves, do a lot of innovation in the instruments that we use and in the fund type of funds that we set up. Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've said that, it just leads me to my next question on the need for policies. So, what kind of policies do you think need to be in place so that we can see this structural change? Because you've raised it clearly that even investors need training, as much as startups do need. So what's the role of the government in ensuring that there's an opportunity for this and there's a policy in place to ensure that, oh, if you're going to be going into this space, maybe for investment, you are well equipped? Because sometimes, I mean, we've heard a lot of stories how people run away with funds that they're given despite the
Mm-hmm.
supposed clear checks, but somehow
Yeah.
something just didn't, and then millions, hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes get missing in the mix, and nothing is done about it. So what policies can be
Yeah.
put in place?
So in Africa, and we have done, we are used to the banking system, right? That is
Yes.
why interest rates are very high on SMEs financing because
Mm.
the non-performing loans are very high because that's how you determine the cost of the money. How many people out of 100 don't repay monies when they're SMEs is pretty high. It can go up to 40%.
Mm.
That's why also our banks are asking a lot of mortgages and assets
Yes.
guarantee. There's a reason behind everything. It's not just for the alternative investment class like private equity and venture capital. The thing is that it's not a loan. You do not have a guarantee through an asset. What you have is that you're co-owner of the company, meaning you sit on the governance and you participate in the management of the company because you own equity shares. That's the first difference between alternative class and the bank financing.
Mm-hmm.
The Despite that, if you're a fund, even if you sit on the board, you cannot be in all the management
I can't
teams,
hear you clearly anymore
right?
this time.
So
Okay,
you
so I
only
lost
come
you for a
in.
bit. Can you backpedal a
Okay,
bit? I lost you. I lost you a bit after you spoke on the
okay.
difference between
So
alternative funding sources and the banking system.
okay, so if you are a venture capital fund or a private equity fund, what the way you invest is that you buy equity shares of the company. So you are co-owner with the founder.
Mm-hmm.
We agree. So your main leverage to control the money is that you sit on the board. Usually you have a board seat. And sometimes, if you're an angel investor, people like me, I'm even in the management of the companies because I do very small investment every year. Maybe I do two per year. But if you're a fund, you have a portfolio of 10 or 20 companies, you cannot sit you cannot manage all those companies. So what happened is
True.
that you need to have a level of trust between you and the founder. That's why I said equity investment is like marriage. You have to observe each other, which means that they take a lot of time before doing the investment, sometimes up to 18 months, because they observe each other. The investor observes you, does due diligence, and see and verify that everything that you've been telling him are not stories, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that you exercise the control will be different from the bank because the bank just gives you money, takes guarantee. If you don't pay me, I just
You,
sell
yes,
the
take the
house or
collateral and
whatever,
all
the
of that.
car or whatever, and take my money. But if you're equity investor, you're taking the risk with the founder, right? So if it works, then you're happy. If it doesn't work, then everybody's unhappy. So you're taking the risk. And this is why founders must understand that we as equity investor will ask a certain amount of control on what you do. So you cannot just get up and say that I've created my company, I can do what I want with it, use the money anyhow, etc., etc. There are some expectations that an equity funder will have on the company team. We expect that you do proper reporting on time. When we call you, pick up the phone. When there's a problem, tell it to us so we find solution together. Don't wait until there is no solution and then come to me. So there are some of these things we talk about with the founders that makes
Yes.
the journey easier and smoother than any. So what we expect really from the founders is transparency, honesty. Transparency, honesty. If you're not transparent, you're not honest. We know it, and we won't invest. Sometimes, if we won't even tell you. We just do the due diligence, observe you, and do not invest. So when a fund does not invest, usually if they are honest and with you, they will also tell you why they're not investing. You're too early stage. You do not have enough revenues yet. Can you come back in 2, 3 years? What he's telling you is the truth because every fund has a strategy. Some funds are only interested in people that are post money. So you're people that are cash positive. Yeah. Some are here with you since the beginning when you're starting. So founders must also do due diligence on the investors they're talking to. As we do due diligence on you, do due diligence on the investor. Talk to some of the people that they invested in. How is your relationship with the fund? Are they very supportive? Are they really helping you build business? How supportive are they in the strategy in helping you get more money? Because that's one thing normally we help the founders with. We help you raise more money when you need it. So, like I said, it's a two-way, and we all have expectations one for the other. Like, but you should be honest and open with each other and say the expectations since the beginning.
Okay.
We don't do this, we
Okay.
don't like this, founders, etc. I don't want to sell more than 20% of my shares for this reason, for that reason. So these are things you said since the beginning. So it sets a good pace for the relationship.
Okay. Okay, so does that mean there's no place or there's no need for the government to come in and set certain standards or rules
In
to guide this? Because some people do not just listen, even if you tell them to be open up front.
No, it's not a government issue. The only thing that we asked government in equity investment, and they did, I know that in Ghana they did, which was to able pension funds and insurance funds to invest in these alternative class assets. So in Ghana, a pension fund can invest, I think, up, I don't know if it's 5% or 25%. There's a certain percentage you can invest in private equity and venture capital. That was a policy issue. Okay? All the other issues can be solved by existing policy. You have the judiciary. If there is an issue, usually there is an agreement, a shareholder agreement that manages your relationship. So if there's something wrong, you just go the normal route. You don't need another policy for that. Yeah, because
Okay.
mostly
All
it's
right. So that's
between it's
clear.
on the agreement. Yes.
All right. So is there any, as we round up or round off, is there any other advice as we conclude that you want to share? Maybe that you didn't say earlier, or you want to reinforce something you said earlier along this conversation that we've been having?
So one for the founders, always look for an ecosystem because in the ecosystem you will have everything that you need to make it to be successful. And being entrepreneur is a very lonely place. So you will have people that will have your back because you will fall.
Mm.
All entrepreneurs do. It's just the best that know how to get up when they fall. So also put that in your head. Let nobody tell you that you can be successful overnight. It takes time, it takes a lot of falling and getting up. And just a little secret, um, if a founder comes to me and has never failed in their journey, I will hesitate to put my money because I don't know if he falls, he's going to be able to get up. Yeah. On the investor's
All right.
side, the venture capital industry must work more with organizations like NBC Africa because we have to build the ecosystem together. It's not just us. So if I have an accelerator program, that's what we're doing now. Our Women Accelerator program is linked to a fund. Our rural enterprise programs are linked to a credit union, an ecosystem. So if you're a venture capital fund and you don't have that strategic partnership with accelerators and incubators, it's going to be difficult to access to proper pipeline. And if you do not have the pipeline that you want, get a strategic partnership with an organization like NBC, and they will work with you on setting up the proper program to get the pipeline that you want and that you need. It's the only way. And then provide technical assistance even after you put money there. So these are maybe the two things I will say to finish.
Thank you so much, Madam Tenemba Samake, for being our guest today. You've dissected a whole lot, and I want to believe a lot of the founders out there and startup founders also have taken one or two things out, because I, as a presenter, have already started thinking of a couple of things, a couple of other questions that we need to be asking as follow up conversations. So thank you so much, Madam, for being my guest today on Techpression Live on Techpression
Welcome.
TV. Yes. Okay, so
It
that's
was a
all
pleasure
today.
for
My name
me,
is
as always.
Yes, yes, yes. I had a great time having a conversation with you. And thank you. So this is ahead. Thanks to Madam Samake for agreeing to have other conversations with us. And, we'll be getting to let the cat out of the bag. Not today, but some other time you'll be getting to find out that. But I mean, for now, that's all on Tech Pression Live.
Really.
And my name is Ibuku Bankole. Join us again for another interesting conversation. Bye for now. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much, ma'am.
welcome.
Yes. So
You're welcome.
I think it would show up that you need to be on for a bit. Tosin, is it showing that we need to